We got married in 2007. We enjoyed our first year of marriage without children. But then, we get the dog. And then after you get the dog, the next thing that comes is a kid. We tried and tried and tried, which felt like an eternity. It felt forever. It was really hard. It was really hard emotionally every month when you think, okay, maybe it's going to happen this month. Maybe the medicine's going to work. Maybe it's really going to, we're going to have the baby get pregnant now and I can share with people who are pregnant. It just wasn't happening. Started the medication. After we were on the medicine, they doubled it and then they tripled it, and that's all the OB could do. We went through the process of looking at our options. None of it really kind of seemed like any of the best plan, but we still weren't getting pregnant anyway, irregardless. So we went to some adoption conferences, and Paul sat in the back, like with his arms crossed.
Wasn't happy.
He wasn't happy. He did not want to adopt. He was not having it. He wanted his own children. I couldn't have children. Like, I couldn't physically get pregnant. Why can't I just get pregnant? Just give me a baby. It would just be so much easier. And that wasn't what God had in mind for us.
I've struggled with anger issues for a long time. They really hit me in junior high when Dylan was 2.5. I had some allergy issues. I was on a lot of meds for that, including prednisone. That kind of added to the problem. I was trying to get Dylan to use the bathroom, and he looked at me and said no, and I just slapped him. I really hated myself for having done that, for just lashing out in anger that way. So we ended up calling the suicide hotline.
I made the decision to make him pack a bag. We put all of the medicine that he was on, which was like 7 different meds, put them all in the bag, and I drove him over to Pine Rest. On the way, he kept saying things like,
I just hurt my son. This wasn't the first time I've had issues with anger, and if that's who I am, then maybe it's just best that I'm not a part of their lives anymore.
I'm driving my car on the highway, bringing him to Pine Rest, thinking, you're an idiot. I'm driving you. We're not, this is our marriage. Like, I can't, so the whole time I'm thinking in the back of my mind too, like, what might this look like if he doesn't come? What happens if he doesn't go? All of these things going on in my head. And across the table at Pine Rest, just his eyes, I could just tell, like, he knew there was nothing else we could do. We needed more help. Our small group at the time was amazing. They rallied around us. They loved us. They went and visited Paul. They called to check on me to make sure I was okay. Because I dropped him off at midnight, but then by 10:30 in the morning, because Pine Rest is, they're mandated reporters, they had to call CPS. And so a CPS woman shows up at my door at 10:30 in the morning, and I had dropped Dylan off at daycare already. And that added a whole different lens into our world because we had never experienced that. I never had the fear of losing my child because of something like that. So that added a whole different lens to our relationship.
As far as being at Pine Rest, it was a safe place for me to get down from some of the meds I was on and to do some spiritual reflection and some deep prayer and some Bible study.
And so after those 7 days, we went and picked him up and brought him home, and he was just a totally different person. We got hooked up with Kristen and Dave here at church. Pastor Dave definitely lit into Paul quite a bit.
I learned that, first of all, the sin was my fault. It wasn't the fault of any medication or anything like that. It was on me. I was the one who sinned. And the second thing is that is not my identity, and that my identity is Christ. Those are the 2 big things I remembered from that.
I got it on my end too from Kristen, because I wasn't I wasn't following my husband. I was trying to do it all on my own. And in the situation with all the meds and everything, I felt like I had to because he was just kind of in this funk. Last year, I realized that I was still struggling with the things of my past and the things that had happened.
I was surprised that she wanted to go through counseling. I didn't even realize some of the things that she was still holding on to, but I was supportive of it. And I told her, if you think that's something you feel you need to do, absolutely. When I was a young teen, I had multiple instances of inappropriate relationships. Some of that was, dangerous boyfriends. Some of that was just abuse in other ways. Enduring and going through that as you grow up really forms your person. And so when you go through those different things, one of the questions I always had was the why. Like, why would God put me through something like that? Carrie was gracious enough to see me, and we started working through the book of Shame Interrupted, and my need for control came out in our session. And I said, I don't think Paul could do it without me. And she said, what'd you say? And I said, well, seriously, I don't think he could do it without me. And of course, this is my thought process at the time. And she's like, no, you need to say that again. And so she made me say it 3 times. At the end of that session, it just revealed my need for control. But because I didn't have control so much when I was younger and experiencing the things that I experienced, it was like I wasn't letting go of that control. And I wanted to control whatever I could. And holding on to the shame and the guilt, I guess, was a way of control, but not healthy. And I had to go home and tell Paul exactly what I had said in counseling, which was that I didn't feel like he could take care of our house and our family without me. And that was a pride issue, because that was my pride getting in the way of, he can do it. He's capable of doing it, but I needed to let him do that. I needed to let him lead. And I don't think it was until then when I actually, I've believed in God my whole life, but I don't think it was until then when I actually just surrendered it. Like, God, whatever, I'm done carrying this. I can't keep carrying this. It was just such a burden all the time, and just giving it to him and not looking back. I got home, I was shaking. I remember standing on the side of the bed because Paul was sitting on his iPad, playing his game. And I'm thinking, oh, this is not a good time. The kids were in bed, but I'm like, he's relaxing. Maybe I should just wait. Maybe I just shouldn't tell him. And I said, honey, I need to talk to you. And he knows when I say that, yeah,
you better listen. So,
it's time to put the iPad down.
So he said, I have to tell you something. It's my homework. I have to do it. I was reluctant to do it. And I said, I'm so sorry for feeling this way, and I'm asking you to forgive me, but I really feel like when I'm not here, or if I'm not here, you can't do it without me. And what I thought was going to be received and given back as anger and maybe yelling or a yes, dear kind of situation ended up with him saying, you know what? I probably should be stepping up more and leading more than I am. And I just kind of sat there for a second, what? What did he? Because I was seriously shocked at that response. It was not something that he just hadn't responded that way before. I was really he's probably not going to be happy about this. Just standing back and looking at the 30,000-foot view of it, God has brought us through tons of storms and tons of trials. And when we sit and talk about all of them, it's like, wow, it's amazing that we even survived. We would have not survived if it wouldn't have been for God.
I don't think anger is ever not going to be a struggle for me. But it's a struggle that I can overcome now, because I have the power of Christ now. I'm not just trying to bottle up my anger all by myself anymore.